the general rule is when you fit a gun to somebody, this is called the comb. Your head should be 3 fingers away from that comb. So if I mount that gun, my head, I measure 3 fingers there. Now to find out the length of the stock, most stocks, and what we're looking at here, will be 14 3/4. That's the average general length of a stock. Some do come with 15, but you measure it, and you measure the stock by putting the measuring stick into the trigger guard there without pulling it. And then you push that. And again, most of these 3 guns, they will come out with 14 3/4 inch stock. So again, if you look at, that's the Beretta. If you look at the Maruku, 14 3/4. If you look at the Browning, 14 3/4. So that's an average length. So really, a lot of people, they do this and say, that gun's too long for me. So if I stand correctly, that gun is about right for me. If I stand like that, that gun's too short for me. So that is an old wives' tale. And this is why you have to go. And the most important thing is the height. And you have to go to a shooting school to get that fitted, because they'll make you stand correctly and they'll get that gun fitting there. And the same with the Browning, they'll get that gun fitting there. Now, there is one other thing. Generally, we don't use these particularly much anymore. And we've got a side-by-side one. We've got an over and under one as well. But you can get a tri-gun. And then this is traditionally, I don't actually generally think this is particularly needed much anymore. We don't really use this much anymore. But this was very much, if a client comes in and they want to check the height, the cast, the length, you can get your Allen key and you can pull that up like that. Pitch, the height. You can change it, can go to left or right. So you can actually measure the cast if somebody wants it. But this was kind of come out before adjustable combs, so that does it all for you. So if I mount this now, I've obviously adjusted that so it's longer, higher. So that's what you call a tri-gun. But generally, with the modern guns and modern technology, you don't actually need to use one of these. If you've got a decent shooting instructor and a decent shooting school with enough guns, they actually will be able to fit that without using a tri-gun. But that is a tri-gun of how it works. The other question that kind of comes up is, how do you know if a gun fits you or not? And each gun has different stock dimensions. So generally you have 3 guns. You have, I'll pick the main 3. You have the Maruku, you have the Browning, and you have the Beretta. What you'll do is you'll look at those 3 brands to start with. I'm going to point the gun, and you'll mount the gun at somebody, and you look where my eye comes in relation to that rib. So if I mount that gun at the camera, see my eye on this is below this line of rib. Generally, Marukus are very low in the comb. Or the MK60 is very low in the comb. The MK38 Sporter is generally the same as the 525, but that's a slightly different aspect. So the MK60, so the easiest way to find it out is by putting the guns on the counters like this. So you'll put that, then you'll put that, then you'll put that. And again, if you look down here, you can see the different comb heights. So you've got your lowest, your highest, the Berettas in between. And then the other way to work it out, that shows you how high each, that's called the comb, and that shows you how high the comb is compared to the rib. You've got that one. And you've got the Browning, which is even higher. I won't even have to move that, I'll have to move that. So this is where this bit is higher on each gun. And then that will tell you, if you look at the measurements on there, that will tell you what measurements and how high they are compared to each other. This is where experience takes you. So a lot of the new instructors don't necessarily understand how to use one of these. It's a bit like a tri-gun, which we will do another film with a tri-gun. So you can make all bits with it. But this is how you fit a gun to a customer, is you go through and you look at each three. And this is where you've got, you've got hundreds of different gun manufacturers. But generally, the ones that you will use it is the Beretta, Browning, Maruku, because they're the average three guns that's going to fit most people. You've got Guarinis, you've got Rosinis, you've got Faustis, you've got all these other things, but these are the same guns. Most of the other gun manufacturers have actually generally copied one of these three. The only thing is obviously this is where Browning are very clever. Browning now own all the rights to Maruku. So Browning, and they brought the 725 out, which fits into the Beretta market. So this is where Browning are really going up and above. And this is where Fausti has actually worked well, because Faustis have taken the Browning XS and they put the Italian style on the Browning XS. So Browning is kind of the market leader within the gun manufacturers at the moment. And generally everyone, you've got Blaser, which are coming up, but nobody seems to be able to copy Browning. I know Browning have got vast amounts of money to kind of put into R&R and research and development. But this is what the companies need to do, is to develop those guns to move on. Look at how they started hundreds of years ago. You had side-by-side. You've now moved into this. You've now got more recoil positions. You now have got things like that. So this is where the gun manufacturers have kind of, these three have kind of gone to that top. I hope you've enjoyed that. Any questions on that, please comment below and please let us know.